Good day, everyone. This is your Vedic astrology coach, Rajat Kapoor, and very warm welcome to my channel, The Learned Astrologer. In my channel, I make videos on Vedic astrology and the important transits that are upcoming for you. In the recent times, I have made a very important video on Jupiter's transit in the sign of Taurus. Today, as I make this video, Jupiter has entered the sign of Taurus, which is the second sign of the natural zodiac. It is ruled by Venus, and Jupiter is going to stay in the sign of Taurus till 14th of May 2025. This is one of the most unique videos that I'm making now as a second part in my series of videos. In case you're new to my channel, please subscribe, hit the bell icon, keep yourself up to date with all the upcoming transit videos and Vedic astrology videos, as I intend to keep the concepts very simple for you. In case you wish to book a personalized consultation with me, you can check out the links to my website in the comments section in the process of reaching out to me. In case you're based in Dubai, I am available for in-person consultations as well. Thank you. So this is the most unique video that you will find on Jupiter's transit in the sign of Taurus. And I'm going to present to you how it will have an impact on all 12 ascendant signs through my presentation. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the concepts that are rarely discussed. No one talks about it. You must check out my previous video, which is a very detailed video on all ascendant signs and how Jupiter's transit is going to have an impact, wherein I have spoken about some very interesting aspects, things, connections, and also simple remedies for you. When are those highs and lows that you have throughout the transit? And most importantly, that video is about the first 5 months. In this part of the video, I am going to talk about how Jupiter's aspect plays a role. In part 3 of the video, which will come in the next few days, I'm going to talk about how Jupiter in the transit, if it is connected to your natal planets, if it is crossing over some planet, or if it is aspecting some other planets, how the results are identified and how the results could be determined for each ascendant signs and how it will have an impact on your life. This video is about aspects of Jupiter. So Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus. It is aspecting by its fifth aspect, seventh aspect, and its ninth aspect. It is aspecting the sign of Virgo. It is aspecting the sign of Scorpio and the sign of Capricorn in your chart. However, these are Graha Drishtis or planetary aspects. Based on Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra, these aspects are only temporary, which means Jupiter will have maximum aspect if it is playing a role in your ongoing Dasha, Antardasha, or Pratanda Dasha, or if you have key planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, Scorpio, and Capricorn, you are likely to have impact of this Jupiter's aspect on these planets, and this is considered highly beneficial. Jupiter's fifth and the ninth aspect are 100% aspect. These are called Jnana Drishti, or the aspect of knowledge. And when Jupiter bestows knowledge on that house and any planet that is placed there, it works to its ultimate potential, great potential. Knowledge is channelized in a way that that planet helps you make the right kind of decisions in your life. And that sign is absolutely active and positive. But these aspects are temporary. There are more houses that Jupiter is going to be aspecting during this time, since it is in a fixed sign of Taurus. Based on the concept of Rashi Drishti, which is the sign aspects, yes, signs also aspect each other. The movable signs, which is Chara Rashi, it is the sign of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. These Rashis aspect the fixed signs, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Now, movable signs aspect fixed signs besides the sign which is adjacent to that particular sign. So, for example, the sign of Taurus is a fixed sign. So, fixed sign aspects, movable signs aspect, fixed signs. I'm going to explain this to you through my presentation for each ascendant. And when it is about dual signs, which is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, they aspect each other. While being in the fixed sign of Taurus, Jupiter will be aspecting the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter will be aspecting the sign of Cancer, because Taurus is aspecting the sign of Cancer and Jupiter is placed in Taurus. It will be aspecting the sign of Libra, and it will be aspecting the sign of Capricorn. So the sign of Capricorn will be super active, has greater focus of Jupiter. Jupiter's ninth aspect is on Capricorn, and the Rashi Drishti, the sign aspect, is also there on the sign of Capricorn. Additionally, if you have planets in the sign of Cancer, in the sign of Libra, you're also likely to be impacted the most by this transit in a good way. This is the concept part. Let's start with Aries ascendants and how this transit is going to have an impact on Aries ascendants. So for Aries ascendants, Jupiter becomes your ninth house lord and the 12th house lord. It is making a transit in the second house, in the Dhan Bhava. We see wealth from the second house. We see income from the second house. Family, this is the house of consumption. I have spoken a lot in detail in my previous video, which you must watch. Now here, I'm going to focus a lot on these aspects. These arrows that you see, dotted red arrows, are about Jupiter's special aspect. Being an outer planet, it has been given the power of special aspects, besides having a natural seventh aspect, which is falling on the sign of Scorpio, but this is only a 50% aspect. It has a special fifth aspect, which is on the sign of Virgo, which is your sixth house. It has a ninth aspect on the sign of Capricorn, which is your 10th house of career, profession, work, action in the society, your duties that you do. So these two are special aspects, which are 100% aspect. But these red lines are temporary aspect. This will only work to its full potential in case you have any planets in these houses that are placed in your natal chart, or if Jupiter is playing a role in Dasha, Antardasha, Pratantardasha, or if you have any planet in the sign of Taurus, or if any of your Dasha Lord, Antardasha Lord is in any manner connected with Jupiter by aspect or conjunction in your chart, that also should be understood to assess the results and how this transit will have an impact on you. Now, the Rashi Drishti, which is the sign aspect, the sign of Taurus being the fixed sign, aspects movable signs, which is Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. It does not aspect the sign of Aries because it is adjacent to it. This is based on the principles of Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra. This is something which is clearly mentioned, written in the scriptures, and I'm surprised that no one really talks about it. These aspects are permanent. It is going on all the time. So being there, wherever the house of Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, of course, falls in your chart, which is fourth house, seventh house, and 10th house, is going to continuously receive Jupiter's aspect, Jupiter's blessing. So you can expect positive results with regards to your happiness, your comfort, your security, your sense of safety, and things that make you feel happy and content. Relationship are going to foster. Marriage is going to be a blessing for you. And in case you're looking forward to getting married or settle down, this could be a potentially favorable time. Career, particularly for Aries ascendants, is going to foster during Jupiter's transit because it has been aspected also by the natural ninth aspect and also by the sign aspect. So that plays a very important role. Now, if I were to, share with you specific pointers around how this works, the temporary aspect, which is the dotted line, is on your sixth house, which is a Sashta Bhava. Sixth house is about daily routines, it's deaths and diseases. We see intelligence from the sixth house. We see the overall growth from it because it's an Upachaya Bhava. It is also about fear, some sort of apprehension, cuts and wounds. It is indicative of death-like suffering. It is not the Mrityu Bhava, but it indicates suffering of all kinds. It is a sign of distrust and also suspicion and doubt on other people. And at the same time, if it is channelized in a positive way, if the sixth lord is in strength, it gives us the power of healing. This is also something that we see from the sixth house. Now, this temporary aspect is playing a role here, so you can expect some positive significations with regards to sixth house matters during this transit for the next 1 year. And this is something which you have to watch out for. We also see job from the sixth house. So sixth house and 10th house are receiving these special aspects. So you can expect some breakthrough decisions or some good news as far as your career or work progress is concerned. Jupiter is also aspecting the eighth house or the Randhra Bhava, which indicates longevity or Ayu, which is also about six internal enemies of the mind, for example, greed, for example, lust. Okay, so some of these elements which are considered to be the enemies of the mind, deceit, lie, some of these things which we should stay away from, which includes indulgence as well. It also indicates inheritance, insurance that protects you, and of course, the future of your family. knowledge of past and future life. So we see astrology from this house. This could be a potentially favorable time to learn Jyotish or astrology. We also see any kind of debts, which is mostly borrowing and lending, and disease related to genitals or your lower body or private parts, if I would say. Battles and any kind of transformation is also seen from this house, so you can expect certain results there. The green arrow focuses on the permanent aspect, which is the Rashi Drishti or the zodiac aspect, as I mentioned to you before. So you can expect breakthrough results with regards to the fourth house matters, very, very positive results. I have put some clear explanation. See, one house means many different things, and I've tried to explain it to you in the most simple manner, in the most elaborative manner as to what the focus areas could be for the next 1 year. So this is something you can take in mind and consider in mind in terms of making any important decisions. If you have decisions related to vehicle, any sort of travel, comforts, your relationship with mother, or also purchasing a real estate or a property or a land, this could be a potentially favorable time because Jupiter is certainly bestowing blessing on you. Happiness is going to increase, affection towards others, things that you would like to do for your home, for your country, for your region. This is also something which we see from the fourth house. It also indicates storage of all kinds. So it could be a potentially favorable time for you to declutter things and make sure that you store the right kind of things for your future. This also is aspecting your seventh house, which is Jaya Bhava. Fourth house is called Matra Bhava, which is the house of mother. Seventh house is Jaya Bhava, which is the house of love and also war at the same time. This is where we see spouse from. This is where we see winning over internal as well as external enemies. Your external enemies are seen from the sixth house and also somewhat from the eighth house. So, seventh house is the second from the sixth house, which does indicate some sort of victory over enemies. And eighth is the house of internal enemies. So, seventh is 12th from the eighth. So it is indicative of loss of those enemies which are internal to you. Any kind of journey which indicates distance, time, your accomplishments are seen from the seventh house because this is the house of market, natural house of market, business, and this is where the whole marketplace exists. Seventh is the center of the zodiac. So we see zodiac from this sign or the house itself. So the center of the point of the zodiac lies between the sign of Virgo and Libra. Okay, so this is where we see zodiac from is here as well. Business, trade, any death like suffering, loss of sight or lack of vision is also seen from the seventh house because it is opposite to the first house. Okay, so this is what we see, and these are some of the results which you can expect. Greater focus certainly on the 10th house, which is your karma bhava, which is the kingdom. It is the authority, your actions in the society. It is the akasha bhava or sky. We see sky from this house. Your mode of life, your moral conduct, the occupation that you are in, the kind of work activity that you do. What is your focus really in life? So this could be a potentially favorable time for you to reflect back and understand your true purpose, meaning, and focus in terms of the coming months. Okay, we also see foreign residents from the 10th house. We see your home country or your home land or residence from the fourth house, 10th house being opposite to it. We see foreign residents from here or chances of going abroad, particularly for work, and that is concerned. Also, source of nourishment of or food. Okay, and this is something which we clearly see because it's a karma bhava, things that you do to survive yourself, to sustain yourself. In order to understand this transit, this is something which you must pay careful attention on. And once again, I wish you the very best. Please watch my previous video as well on Jupiter's transit for a detailed analysis. And this is how the aspects will work in your case. And I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Taurus ascendants and how Jupiter's transit in the year 2024 is going to have an impact based on the aspects of Jupiter. So you see these different arrows. The red dotted arrows indicate special aspect and the aspect of desire, which is the seventh aspect of Jupiter, which is falling on your fifth house, which is the fifth aspect because Jupiter is making a transit in your ascendant, in your Lagna itself, where Jupiter gains directional strength. So you have the blessings of the Devata during this time. It is quite an auspicious moment. This kind of transit only happens once in 12 years. You must remember it. So it is your eighth lord. and the 11th lord, it is making a transit in your ascendant, which does give some impact and significance to Jupiter. It will be aspecting your fifth house by its fifth aspect, the sign of Virgo, which is the house of future for you. It will be aspecting your seventh house by its seventh aspect of desire, which is the sign of Scorpio. Now, this aspect is only 50%. It will be aspecting your ninth house by its ninth aspect. And this is the house of Dharma, fortune, which is again 100% aspect, the fifth and the ninth. And the green arrows talk about the Rashi Drishti or the zodiac aspect, the sign of Taurus aspects, the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn, which is permanent Drishti or permanent aspect. And Jupiter being placed here will have a significant impact on these three houses, your third house, sixth house, and the ninth house. So ninth house is having greater focus. Your third house, valor, courage, change, and also sixth house, which is a Shashta Bhava. To explain you in detail, I have prepared some notes which are quite ready reckoner or reference for you. The temporary aspect, which is the red dotted line, is on the fifth house. How do you read it? If Jupiter is playing a role in your current dasha, antardasha, presentadasha, or if you have planets placed in the sign of Taurus, in your first house, in your fifth house, in your seventh house, and in your ninth house, you are likely to have impact of this temporary aspect, which will be working at its full potential. Otherwise, it will be bare minimum for you. Your fifth house, which is the Putra Bhava, we see children from the fifth house. We also see mantra, yantra, which is any kind of mystic diagram, amulets, prayers. All the prayers are from the fifth house, and this is something which rarely someone talks about. The sounds and syllables, which are mystic in nature, the mantras and sounds also we see from the fifth house. We see mundane knowledge, the knowledge which is very relevant for the current time, which is very practical in nature. Acumen of all kinds. Since it's a house of children, we see future from the fifth house. This also holds authority and kingdom. There are two houses of kingdom and authority in the chart. One is the fifth house, and the other is the 10th house. We see beholding because we are so sometimes obsessive about matters related to this house. We are overtly extra careful or cautious. So we try to, hold it and stick to it very tightly in our life with these matters. We also see falling down or a sense of corruption from the fifth house. Most politicians have a very strong fifth house or a fifth lord. That is something which I have seen in my experience. And this does lead to a fall as well, as it creates, builds king, because this is the natural house of Leo, which is the king sun, and the kingmaker is Saturn. So Saturn falls in the sign of Leo, which is opposite to its office space, which is Mool Trikon sign of Aquarius. So it does lead to falling down and corruption. Your seventh house, which is the Jaya Bhava, this is the house of peace and war. Your spouse, how you win over internal and external enemies. Internal enemies are seen from the eighth house. Your enemies of the mind. Okay, what leads your mind towards bad habits or bad direction, which could include indulgence, it could include greed, lust, bad affinity you have towards things, and some of those habits. Okay, that is something it could lead to. Seventh house is 12th from that, so it indicates victory over internal enemies, and also external enemies are seen from the sixth house. It is second from the sixth house. It indicates any kind of distance in time, your accomplishment. We see zodiac belt from the seventh house. It is the center of the zodiac. All kinds of businesses and trade. This is the marketplace. We also consider experiences which are death-like in nature from the seventh house, and also lack of sight or vision, because vision is the first house, and lack of vision or lack of sight, not having that vision, is from the seventh house. So it will help you, enable you to have a clear vision, to have a clear direction this year. Its permanent aspect, which is indicative of these green arrows that you see here. This is on your third house. Third house is also called Dushchikya Bhava. Dushchikya has many meanings. Okay, it is indicative of valor and working at a pace, taking a stride, taking a very big step, or working in a very fast-paced manner, because this house indicates pace. It indicates change. It also talks about stability. It also talks about how you feel nourished. We also see right hand from the third house. So one of the remedy for you could be get into writing, write journals, or use your hands, particularly your right hands, to do things, work in the kitchen, gardening, some of these things you could see. We also see siblings from the third house, so this will help you improve relationship with your siblings. We see spiritual advice that you receive from others. So an excellent time to get Guru Upadesha, to get any kind of mentorship. We see journey from the third house. So journey would not necessarily mean travel. It could be indicative of starting something new. We also see evil thoughts and being clever or cunning from this house, and also at the same time wise. So it really depends how you channelize those energies, whether you become cunning or whether you become a wise person. Since this is a house of lust, so evil thoughts are seen from the third house. Okay, we see any kind of duration and also growth from this house since it's an Upachaya Bhava. Your sixth house or Randra Bhava will be pretty much active, which is a lot about daily routines, deaths and diseases, your intelligence is seen from it, growth. So this is really a time for growth as far as Taurus ascendants are concerned, because your intelligence will increase. Firstly, Jupiter is sitting in the ascendant. It is having a Rashi Drishti on your sixth house. Intelligence will foster, your growth will foster, and at the same time, you have to be careful of your internal fear and apprehensions. You have to be careful of minor, accident kind situations. Just take care of yourself, through the year. Okay. Distrust and suspicion is also seen from this house, any kind of doubt, and it also gives you the power of healing. And this is something which Jupiter can channelize in a positive way. The greater focus for Taurus ascendants is on Dharma this time, which is your ninth house of Bhagya, fortune, your duty, religion. We see lineage from it because it indicates our past. We see father from this house, so it indicates things related to past and past life. We also see spiritual journey and at the same time spiritual mastery from this house, because this house indicates gain of spiritual knowledge. All the mastery in Shastras and ancient knowledge is seen from the ninth house. We also see pilgrimage as far as travel is concerned from this house, Guru, and higher learning, as I explained to you. So there will be a greater focus because Jupiter has a special ninth aspect on your ninth house, and also the permanent aspect. So regardless of this playing a role in the dasha and the dasha, this is the year of fortune, this is the year of bhagya for Taurus ascendants, and for this I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Gemini ascendants and Jupiter's transit in the sign of Taurus for 2024 from 1st of May 2024 to the 14th of May 2025, and how these aspects of Jupiter is going to play a role. So I'm going to talk about two aspects here. One is the Jupiter's fifth, seventh, and the ninth aspect, which is aspecting your fourth house, sixth house, and the eighth house by its special and the seventh aspect of desire. The others are the signs which the sign Taurus is aspecting, which is permanent aspect of permanent drishti. So Taurus aspects the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn. Now, this is something which rarely someone talks about. And in my opinion, in my studies, these are permanent drishtis, permanent aspect. So Jupiter's temporary aspect, which is the dotted line, is on your fourth house or Matra Bhava, which is its fifth aspect. This is a 100% drishti. Now, these temporary aspects will work to its full potential if Jupiter is playing a role in your dasha, antardasha, prasanta dasha during this time, or if you have key planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, and in the sign of Capricorn, or if your dasha antardasha lord is any way connected to your natal Jupiter, either that or in aspect. So there are higher chances that, whatever concepts I'm talking about, 60 to 70% of people are going to have an impact of these drishtis. Matra Bhava, fourth house, we see vehicles from it, travel, comforts. We see mothers, so an optimum time to improve your relationship. We also see other relatives from this house. We see happiness, also the general public from this house and the kind of support that you get. We see affections because this is a very compassionate house. This is where the natural sign of Cancer sits, which is all about compassion. We do see care, also servants or those people who support, who play a role in our life in increasing comforts. Venus gets Digbali or directional strength in this house. So anything, the equipment that we use, the machinery that we use, which helps us save time. So for example, we have washing machine now, which helps save time. If you wash clothes by your hands, it takes you a lot of time. Now you've got a machine which saves time, effort, and energy. So all kind of comforts are seen from the fourth house, which also includes luxuries, treasury, things that you store, your property, land, real estate, your region, home, or the house building that you would like to build or contribute to, and your country, that is your home. So all these significations we see here, which is being pretty much active for you. Your sixth house, or Randra Bhava, which is daily routines, deaths and diseases, intelligence, growth, because it's an Upachaya Bhava, any kind of fear, apprehension. So this transit could bring in a sense of fear or apprehension as well. But this will depend on you, how you translate that and convert it to your strength as an opportunity. You might have to be a bit careful in terms of getting cuts or wounds, or just be careful of it, though it's just a 50% aspect. So chances are less for you to have any kind of distrust or suspicion or a doubt. um, don't doubt your capabilities, right? Jupiter is making a transit in the 12th house. This year is full of learning. Spirituality is the key, meditation, sadhana is the key. You will have power of healing. Okay, its permanent aspect is in the second house and the fifth house. So from wealth, creating opportunities, this is a good year. Jupiter expands significations of the 12th house for you. It will increase your expenditure. But I always say if expenditure increases, so does your income. You are likely to gain wealth, create capital, which we see from the Dhan Bhava, which is your second house. So we see wealth from it, gains of all kind, capital. Your consumption, primarily we consume. Okay, so second house, interestingly, we see family from the second house. Why we see family from the second house? Because this is the house of consumption. This is also the house of sharing your food and your resources. Who do we share food with? Who do we share our resources or income with? Firstly, it is with our family. And therefore, this is how why we see family from this house. We see grains, our community. It is also a Marak house, which we see death from, and any kind of bondage as well into this world or the people that they're there, right? So Jupiter is going to be focusing on the positive significations and increasing that. We also see a sense of loneliness from this house as we see family. Gems and jewelry are also seen from the second house. Therefore, I always say that in order to ensure what gemstone one needs to wear, second house plays a very important role. Not that you have to not that you have to wear the gemstone of second lord, but this house or its lord and the kind of connection it is making in your chart plays a very important role in determining gemstone. We see speech and savings from this house. Very much focus on fifth house, Putra Bhava, mantras, yantras, amulets, prayers. All of that you use during this year are going to be highly beneficial to you, related to your fifth lord, which is Venus, or related to Jupiter or planets that are placed in this house for you or the sign of Libra. It is going to be pretty much active. We see sounds from this house. We see mundane knowledge, which is very much practical in nature, your ability, your acumen, which gives you progress. It is all about business. We see future children. Authority and kingdom is also seen from the fifth house because this is the natural house that Sun rules, who is the king. We also see falling down or a sense of corruption from this house. See, each house has positive aspects and negative aspects as well. And this is something which I'm going to talk about to ensure that all these houses are neutral in nature. There are some good things, some strengths, some pitfalls and blind spots as well, which we should know in terms of what are those areas and how do we prioritize. So your temporary aspects are those that you have to keep in mind, hold on to it. Permanent aspect will be the focus of the hour, wherein you will see significant results with regards to these matters. And greater focus is on the eighth house, which is the Randra Bhava, your Ayu longevity, things that you do for your own well-being to sustain, survive, to conquer your enemies of the mind, to conquer your greed, to conquer, any kind of strong emotions that you have or any indulgence that you have. You will overcome your inner enemies. We also see inheritance, insurance, knowledge of past and future lives. Astrology is going to be very much focus of the hour. Okay, any debts that you take, borrowing or lending, could be favorable for you, particularly if it is about constructing a house or buying a house. So any mortgage that you take during this time, if your dasha antardasha is supportive, this could be helpful for you. Okay, you have to take care of your transformation, any battles that you have. But eighth house matters, so transformation is inevitable during this year. This is something which is coming for you. And I always say transformation is always good. It helps us make a better person because it really tests our resilience. So it will make you resilient, it'll make you more strong as well. And I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Cancer ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is going to have an impact on Cancer ascendants as far as its aspect is concerned. You must watch the first part of my video, wherein I have spoken in detail on how Jupiter's transit is going to have an impact on Cancer ascendants as far as the first few months are concerned. In this part, I'm going to focus on Jupiter's aspect. One are these dotted red lines, which is a temporary aspect, which Jupiter aspects fifth from its position, seventh from its position, and ninth from its position. The green arrows are the permanent aspect, which is the Rashi Drishti. So the sign of Taurus aspect, the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn by sign aspects. And this aspect is permanent. So Jupiter will have a greater influence on these houses. To explain you in a better and a detailed manner, I have some notes here wherein I have spoken about the significance of these houses, what this temporary aspect means for you, what these different houses mean for you, and the kind of results that you could expect. Temporary aspect is on the third house and the fifth house. Third house is Dushikya Bhava, which is all about your valor. Your courage is seen from this house. Any kind of change, also growth. This is the house of pace. It doesn't really let us settle. We have to work in a very fast-paced manner. We need to take a stride. We need to focus on our strengths, build on our strengths to ensure that we have stability in life. We also need to take care of our nourishment. Food is seen from the second house. Nourishment is seen from the third house because it is second from the second house. Any matters related to growth are generally seen from second house of that respective house that we are talking about. We see right hand, siblings, spiritual advice that we receive, mentorship that we receive. So, an excellent time for that. Now, these aspects will work if Jupiter is playing a role in Dasha, Antardasha, Pratantardasha, or if you have significant planets in the sign of Taurus or in the sign of Virgo, also in the sign of Scorpio and Capricorn, you are likely to have impact as far as Jupiter's aspect is concerned. And Jupiter's aspect is always a blessed aspect. It increases the significance of that house. It puts that planet which is placed there to work, to duty. It gives it the power of knowledge because its fifth aspect and ninth aspect are all about knowledge. So when that planet receives the power of knowledge, it works at its full potential. Fifth house, we see Putra Bhava, children from it. This is also the mantra bhava. Okay, Mars becomes mantresha for you. So this plays a very important role. We see prayers or mystic sounds, mundane knowledge, which is very much practical in nature. Some of these elements, which you can also see here, we see kingdom, progress, authority. We also see a sense of corruption and falling down from this house. Okay, this is a very political house because this is where the leadership sits. This is the natural house of king, which is Sun or Surya. So you could expect some results of this house as well. Permanent aspect is greater focus, which is your first house and the fourth house. And these two houses are receiving permanent aspect. Along with that, your seventh house is also receiving permanent aspect, along with the special ninth aspect during this time. So that is the greater focus is on seventh house, which is Jaya Bhava, your spouse, winning over your internal as well as external enemies. We see external enemies from the sixth house, and this house is second from the sixth house. So you're winning over it, you are consuming it, right? So you are having a sense of achievement, you have gains over it. Okay, we see loss from the 12th house. 8th house is the house of internal enemies. So loss of internal enemies is seen from the 7th house. Journey that you take, which involves distance as well as time, a sense of accomplishment, because this is the house opposite to your Lagna, to your first house. This is the center of zodiac. We see business and trade from this house. Death like suffering. This is not really the house of death, but more or less like suffering. So we also see loss of sight and having a lack of vision from this house. Somehow, Jupiter will enable you to have a very clear vision this year. So make sure you focus on your vision and you put your actions together and you make the most of meaningful, cordial relationships during this time. It is also aspecting your first house and the fourth house by its permanent aspect being in the sign of Taurus. So it is all about your body, your intellect and knowledge is going to increase. You are going to be recognized because Jupiter is placed in the 11th house. It is going to expand those matters. And then it is aspecting your Lagna, your ascendant. There are chances of fame. Also, at a deeper level, conscience, that sense of consciousness. It is the time to understand your strengths and your weaknesses, improvement areas. Try to build on these strengths. It is also about happiness as well as sufferings. It is about your nature, your merit, looks, complexion, experience. So you will have a lot of focus on your own grooming, your own wisdom and knowledge and the kind of experiences that you have. Fourth house, we see vehicles from mother, because it's a matra bhava, travel, all sorts of comforts, your other relatives, happiness, affections, care. It's a very compassionate house. We see all kinds of comforts. Servants are also seen from this house because servants bring comfort in a person's life because they do your work. So take care of your servants, treat them well, make sure you pay them on time, make sure you give them some bonus and add-ons. Take care of all those, cleaners and servants in your life as a basic remedy this year. You will have luxuries. This is also the house of storage. So in case you're making decisions with regards to property, real estate, this seems to be a favorable year in case your Dasha Antardasha is supportive. So any buying, selling is involved, you could be benefited during this time. I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Leo ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is going to play a role and have an impact on Leo ascendant signs. So, at a physical level, you have to read this transit from your ascendant because here I'm going to talk in detail about aspects of Jupiter and the houses that are activated and the kind of results that you could expect by the special and blessed aspect of Jupiter. To understand it in detail, you must watch my previous video. I'll share the link in the comment section where I have explained a detailed analysis of all ascendant signs. This is a special video and one of its kind video that you've never seen before, which is on aspects, and I'm sharing some deep secrets of these aspects. So there are two kinds of aspects here. One is the temporary aspect, which is the fifth aspect, seventh aspect, and the ninth aspect of Jupiter. It aspects fifth from its position, seventh from where it is placed, and ninth from where it is placed. And this is represented by these red dotted lines in this chart. Though the permanent aspect are on three houses, your 12th house, which is the sign of Cancer, your third house here, and your sixth house, which is the sign of Capricorn, because the sign of Taurus aspects these three houses by the sign aspect or Rashi Drishti. So Jupiter is going to have significant impact on these houses. How do you read this? To keep it very simple for you, temporary aspects. Now, these aspects will only be effective in case your ongoing dasha, antardasha, pratantardasha, Jupiter is playing a role. Or if you have important key planets, your dasha lord, antardasha lord in the sign of Taurus, Virgo, Scorpio, or Capricorn, or if Jupiter is connected to your ongoing Dasha Antardasha Lord in your natal chart by aspect or conjunction or by any yoga that they are forming in your chart, you are likely to be impacted by these temporary aspects in a much beneficial way because Jupiter's aspects are 100% beneficial. Its placement might be a bit tricky. Okay, so Jupiter is placed in a 10th house for you during this transit. It is forming a Rajya Yoga this year. And Jupiter is also one of the significator of the 10th house. It rules wisdom and knowledge that is related to work. Okay, so there's a fifth aspect on your second house, your Dhan Bhava, which is creating chances for wealth, capital gains, your consumption that needs you need to be also careful about what you consume, what you eat, what you consume. And if you channelize it in a positive manner, you're likely to gain wealth. You might focus a lot on savings this year. We also see the sense of community, family. We also see death. It's the Marak Bhava. However, Jupiter is having a very protective and the aspect of knowledge on this house. So it is elevating the powers of this house. We see any kind of bondage as well. We see gems and jewelry from this house. So any investments that you wish to make, any things that you wish to purchase around this, it will be a potentially favorable time for your savings. It is having a seventh aspect on your fourth house, which is the Matra Bhava. The seventh aspect is only 50% aspect. So this is related to vehicles, travel, comforts. These are some of the significations of the fourth house, as you see here, related to your home, your country, the place where you belong. Okay. And I have already explained when you can expect these results. Jupiter is also having the ninth aspect on your sixth house, which is the Randra Bhava, or which is the sixth house. This is the name of that house. Now, sixth house is also receiving aspect by this green arrow, which is the sign aspect from Taurus. So there's a greater focus on these house matters. This is going to be the direction of your life as far as Jupiter's transit is concerned for the next 1 year, which is to fix your daily routines, which is to be careful in terms of debts and also diseases. So if you take some loans for your business, buying a house, property, it could be good for you. It could be beneficial depending on your Antardasha, Patandadasha. Jupiter is going to bestow you with intelligence, with growth. Will also bring a sense of fear and apprehension, and that's something which you have to be careful of. Be careful while being out, while driving, while working in the kitchen, cutting, chopping, because it could bring some minor accidents. So be careful of it. Um, and avoid having any kind of doubt or suspicion on other people. Okay. This will really give you the power of healing. So the more you help others, the more you heal others, because your 12th house is also pretty much active by the sign aspect. So this transit is really putting you to action, putting you to work, elevating your professional pursuits, and at the same time giving you the power of healing. Okay. If you channelize some of these negative traits in a positive manner, it could be a good year for you. It could be a breakthrough year and a very promising time for you as far as this matter is concerned. 12th house, which is the house of expenditure, where power is receiving the permanent aspect. So your expenses might rise, you might incur losses, but then if your expenses rise, so does your income, because your second house is also pretty much active during this time, right? You will have some internal enemies, which are enemies of your mind. So greed, lust, stay away from these things, stay away from indulgence, right? The more you follow spiritual path or spirituality, the better it will be for you. Practice mindfulness instead. Okay. Try to conquer, try to control and tame your mind. Okay. It also indicates any kind of weapon or passing away. Each house has many different meanings. So I have tried to elaborate all the traits and qualities of the 12th house. It is the house where we rest, where we sleep. It is also renunciation because it's being lonely. First house is yourself. 12th house is loss of self. It is also the house where we need attention. We see bed or any kind of comforts related to bed from it. We see meal, what we eat from this house, study and master. Whatever we study and we master that, we see from it. It is what makes a person complete. It is the finished line. It is the end, right? This is also seen from the 12th house. Third house, which is the Dushchikya Bhava, which is about valor, your courage, a sense of pace and taking a stride in anything that you do. Workplace, Jupiter's place in the workplace, aspecting your third house, demands pace at work. Pace in terms of learning, in terms of working, in terms of anything that you're doing as far as your professional life is concerned. So be ready to work at a fast pace and embrace this daily routine. It is also trying to bring a sense of stability and make you feel more nourished and focus a lot on your nutrition during this time, right? Your balanced diet. We see right hand from this house. So you could write and, of course, do things related to your hand. Get a spiritual advice or mentorship, those who you look up to. It could be a potentially favorable time. This house also indicates journey. It doesn't necessarily mean travel, but this could be a start of something new, a change of job, or starting your business, or getting into a new venture, because this house indicates journeys of all kinds, not only just short travels, but something new that you start. It will make you more wise and clever, and how you channelize this is up to you. Stay away from evil thinking and have positive and a very clean mind, because this is something which Jupiter demands during this time. And if you do that, it will certainly bring you some growth. So these are the aspect results of Jupiter. I hope you like this part, and I wish you the very best in this Jupiter's auspicious transit for you this year. Let's now talk about Virgo ascendants and how Jupiter's transit in 2024 in the sign of Taurus is playing a role for Virgo ascendant signs. So you need to read this transit from your ascendant sign, because here I am talking about Jupiter's aspects, the houses it will aspect during this time. You must watch my previous video, which is about Jupiter's transit, wherein I have spoken in detail about how it is going to have an impact on all 12 ascendant as well as moon signs. This presentation is about Jupiter's aspect. Jupiter has three aspects, which includes its fifth and the ninth aspect. These are special aspects, aspects of knowledge. So it aspects fifth from its position. During this transit, it is aspecting the sign of Virgo, which is your first house. It is aspecting seventh from itself, which is Scorpio, which is your third house. And this aspect is 50%. The fifth aspect is 100%. And it is also aspecting your fifth house, the sign of Capricorn, which is again a 100% aspect. So these aspects are though temporary. How this will work, when this will work, I'm going to talk about it. These green arrows signify permanent aspect, because the sign of Taurus aspects the sign of Capricorn, the sign of Cancer, and the sign of Libra. These are Rashi Drishtis or sign aspects. Each sign aspects three other signs in the chart. And these Drishtis aspects are of permanent nature. So Jupiter will have an impact on these houses throughout the year for you, regardless of the fact that Jupiter is playing a role in Dasha Antardasha. It is going to bring some positive aspects and influence in your life with regards to matters of these houses. So the temporary aspect, which is the dotted red line, is on the first house, third house, and also on the fifth house to a great extent. Fifth house is quite the focus area because it also has the green arrow, which is the permanent aspect from the sign of Taurus. So that's the greater focus. So let's start with greater focus of the year. Your greater focus is on the fifth house related matters, which is the Putra Bhava. So any mantras that you use during this time. Firstly, Jupiter is transiting in the ninth house of religion, dharma, bhagya, fortune, higher learning. Any mantras that you use during this year are going to benefit you multifold. You can also use yantra, and that will be dependent on individual chart, the kind of yantra that you should have or you should keep, and how you should pray and what you should be doing in order to pray for your prosperity and any kind of removing of obstacles. Jupiter also becomes Badakesha for you. So for example, you can keep a Ganpati yantra or a Ganesha yantra to work on removing certain obstacles in your life. Prayers that you use will have multifold results, and that prayers mantras would really depend on individual chart as far as remedial measures are concerned. Mundane knowledge, so you need to spend a lot of time in terms of gaining practical insights as far as your work is concerned. Upskill yourself, reskill yourself, pick up a course or two. We see children from this house. Therefore, this is the house of future. Your future planning, goal setting is going to play a very important role during this time. We see authority as well as kingdom, a sense of progress from this house. Fifth house and 10th house, these two houses are the house of kingdom and authority. We also see falling down or a sense of corruption. Most politicians have a strong fifth house or a strong fifth lord. And this also, somehow brings a sense of corruption as well, because when power gets into our head, it of course corrupts the mind. And this is something which you have to be careful of. Now, this is the greater focus area for you this year. Temporary aspect. When will these temporary aspect work? Okay. These will only play a role if you have Jupiter playing a role in your ongoing Dasha, Antardasha, or Pratanta Dasha. Or if you have a planet that is playing a role in your ongoing Dasha time period, or Antardasha or Pratanta Dasha, if it is placed in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, or in the sign of Capricorn, you are likely to be bestowed by a lot of beneficial results as far as Jupiter's aspect is concerned. First house related matters, which is your body, your intellect, your knowledge. We see recognition from this house. We see all kinds of fame from this house. We see your consciousness, we see conscience, we see a sense of understanding your strengths and also weaknesses to be more self-aware. This is the house of awareness towards the end of the day. This is where knowledge comes from, all the basic elements. Forget about all the other houses. This is the primary, fundamental, basic factor that is involved as far as gaining of knowledge is concerned. We see happiness as well as suffering. So there's two sides of a coin. Your nature is seen from it. Okay, so Jupiter is going to expand significations. It is going to bring a sense of merit. Your looks is going to be the focus of the hour. You would want to be more presentable. You would want to make yourself sound like a person who has a lot of wisdom or knowledge. You would want to leverage a lot of experience all throughout the year, which could be good as far as your knowledge is concerned. Third house, which is receiving a seventh aspect, which is 50% aspect. Your valor, pace, us taking a stride. So this talks about, things that you do in a fast-paced manner. Jupiter is placed in the ninth house, the house of higher learning, the house of long-distance spiritual journeys. So you might want to work in a fast-paced manner as far as your higher learning is concerned. Right hand, whatever you learn, make sure you write, you take notes. This could be a potentially favorable remedy for you. Get some mentorship or guidance of your guru or some elder or a mentor, and some of these other aspects that you could read here for your own benefit. Now, the other two houses which will have permanent aspect during this time, which will have the focus of the hour, is your 11th house and the second house. 11th house is Aya Bhava, second house is Dhana Bhava. Therefore, we see wealth from it. We see valuable objects from the 11th house, all kind of material objects, wealth, your assets, goods that you have, your income, gains of all kind, the interest that you receive from your deposits or any kind of investments. We see prosperity because it is all about valuable objects, it's all about gain, and this is what prosperity really means in the current Kali Yuga or the environment. We also therefore see worldly existence from this house, all the material things, all the things that you are busy with from a worldly point of view. Therefore, the purpose of birth is also seen from the 11th house and how and under what circumstances we are born. With a weak 11th house of the 11th Lord, there could always be challenging circumstances in terms of being born. Otherwise, it could be beneficial. So, therefore, we see a sense of welfare as well as well being from it. Acquisition of all kinds. So, in order to build a house, buy property, real estate, income, vehicle, everything that you were to acquire. 11th house is the final deciding factor in terms of ensuring if you buy a house, how big will that house be? Do you buy an apartment or a mansion or a villa, or of course, something that you could afford or something that you could have. Second house, which is the Dhana Bhava, wealth, capital, your gains, what you consume, how you consume, the foods that you eat, your family, community. It is also the Mrityu Bhava. We see death from this house. That doesn't mean that it'll bring those kind of results, but at the same time, Jupiter is protecting this house by the permanent aspect that Taurus is having, in Jupiter's place in the sign of Taurus through this year. We see gems and jewelry from this house, your savings and also your speech. You're likely to have a sense of wisdom in your speech and become more soft spoken. So from wealth point of view, your 11th house, second house, and fifth house are pretty much active. So this is the year of wealth. Jupiter's place in the ninth house. I mean, I do not wish to, say any further. I wish you the very best in all the wealth-related matters, and make sure you make good use of wealth. You also help those who are in need. I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Libra ascendants and what's happening as far as Jupiter's transit is concerned for Libra ascendants. In this special video, I'm only going to focus on aspects of Jupiter and the different houses it will be aspecting by its 5th, 7th, and ninth, which are the special aspects of Jupiter, and also one aspect that no one talks about. It is rarely spoken or shared. Okay, could be because of limited knowledge, or maybe these are certain concepts which people don't pay a lot of attention on. But these aspects are important because these are permanent drishtis or aspect. The sign of Taurus aspects the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn, which is the permanent Rashi aspect in Jupiter while placed in the sign of Taurus. is connected with these three houses in your chart, which is your 10th house, your first house, your Lagna, and the fourth house. So three important Kendra houses. Though a lot of people might feel that Jupiter's transit in the eighth house is bad, in sixth house is not good, or 12th house not good. But from here, as far as permanent aspects are concerned, it is aspecting three important Kendras, your important Dharma Kendra, which is the first house, your important Moksha Kendra, which is the fourth house, and your important 10th house, which is your Artha Kendra. Okay, so this plays a very important role as far as growth is concerned, as far as professional pursuits are concerned. Now, to make it simple for you, I'd like to have this explanation where I'm going to talk about three different aspects. So, firstly, the temporary aspects, which is the fifth and the ninth aspect and the seventh aspect of Jupiter, which is on your 12th house. Your fourth house is receiving the ninth aspect, and your first or your second house is receiving the seventh aspect, which is the 50% aspect. Now, these three aspects, which is the red dotted line, would work in case Jupiter is playing a role in your ongoing dasha, antardasha, or pratanta dasha, or if you have any significant planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, or in the sign of Capricorn, or if in any way Jupiter is connected to your ongoing dasha, antardasha lords in your natal planets, these aspects will be working during this time. Otherwise, you will have minimum effect. 12th house, which is Vaya Bhava, it indicates expenses, losses, the sacrifices that you make, your internal enemies, enemies of your mind. For example, greed, lust, okay, attachment. So these are some of these enemies, weapons that we use. Okay, so make maybe pen as your weapon. So you try to channelize it in a positive way, right? These signification. This is the kind of message which Jupiter is giving you during this time, right? Use your machine or the kind of systems that you work in order to channelize, in order to fight those battles of competition. Okay. We also see passing away, resting, or sleeping from this house. So very much important for you to focus a lot on your sleep. See, Jupiter in this transit in your eighth house is forming a Viparita Yoga. I have mentioned this in my previous video, which you must watch. Okay, situation could be opposite to you, could be detrimental, but eventually you will rise. Okay, so this plays a very important role in spirituality, bed pleasures, also studying and mastering anything that you wish to do. 12th house makes a person complete because it is the house of self realization, self actualization. It has temporary aspects here. Okay, so the fifth aspect is the aspect of knowledge. So you need to increase knowledge related to these house matters. Second house, which is Dhan Bhava, wealth, capital, gains of all kinds. This is what you consume. This is where you consume, what you eat, how you feed yourself, your family, Kutumba Bhava, we say, right? We also see community from this house. Second house is the house of death. Eighth house is the house of longevity, where Jupiter is placed. Ayush. Second house is opposite to that house. Therefore, it is the house of death. Okay. And Jupiter is having a protective cover, protective time for you as far as these matters are concerned because it is its blessed aspect, though it is 50%, but at the same time, it will increase the positive significations of these houses. We see gems and jewelry, your savings, speech. This is also the house which makes a person get into any kind of bondage in terms of their emotional feelings towards others. And this is also the house which causes loneliness. Okay. This is something which is more on a temporary basis in case Dasha Antardasha is there. Your greater focus will be on fourth house related matters, which is the Matra Bhava. Vehicles, travels, comforts of all kinds, your relationship with the mother and other relatives. We see happiness from this house. Care, compassion, affection. These are some of the words because this is the natural house of Cancer, Moon. It's very compassionate. All those things which bring luxury or a sense of comfort in your life. For example, servants. One of the remedy for you could be to take care of those who work for you, your cleaners, guards, servants, or those people who make your life easy, who make your life more comfortable. Make sure that you do something for them. Make sure that you give to them, okay, during this year as a remedy. So we also see storage, any kind of property, land. Your fourth house is greater focus. So very high probability, high chances. If you were to invest in real estate, property, this could be a potentially favorable year because Jupiter is blessing by its aspect. Ninth aspect and also Rashi Drishti, which is permanent. So you cannot go away from this. You need to focus on building qualities of this house for you for the next 1 year. The other two permanent aspects is on your karma bhava, your 10th house, which is receiving it. So workplace matters are going to improve. We see kingdom authority from the 10th house. This is the sky. It's very vast. It's big. It's huge, right? And there's a lot of vision that's there. So, you could not really anticipate, its length or the kind of depth it has, right? So we see mode of life from it. Okay, your life purpose, your true meaning and purpose, your moral conduct, how you conduct yourself at work and also in life, because this is the karma power. We see your actions in society, your work activity, the kind of occupation that you have. So some important decision related to workplace could be favorable for you this year in case your dasha antardasha is supportive. Your mood, focus of mind. This house also represents foreign residence. Fourth house is your home residence, homeland. 10th house is opposite to it. So we also see foreign residents from this house or chances to go abroad as far as workplace related matters are concerned. Your source of food or source of nourishment is also seen because we work in this house and we work primarily to feed ourselves and our family. So this is going to be the focus of the hour. And also your first house, which is ascendant, your overall body, your intellect, intelligence seen from this house. So it's time to build your intelligence. It's time to learn, pick up a course or two, try to improve your Venus here because Venus demands all those education which is more practical in nature, which is more mundane in nature, chances of getting recognized, having some sort of fame, building a consciousness, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, building on those strengths. Do a SWOT analysis for yourself. This is a very strategic year for Libra ascendants because transformation is inevitable, falling down is inevitable, but you will rise. You will strengthen yourself, you will strengthen your happiness, you will strengthen your work. Three important kendras are working very well for you. There should be no fear, there should be no discomfort as far as Jupiter's transit is concerned, right? You're going to focus a lot on your outlook, your overall presentation, how you present yourself to others, how you bring in a sense of wisdom in your interaction. So this is going to be the focus of the hour. How you bring in that depth, knowledge that speaks in your words. That, of course, you present yourself as a knowledgeable person. So this is going to be the focus. Someone who brings in experience. Doesn't matter whether you have years of experience or not, but someone who does bring in meaningful experience. So for that matter, some of these houses are pretty much active and bestowing good results for you all this while. Transformation is inevitable. Do meditation, do sadhana, focus on spirituality, focus on mindfulness, and I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Scorpio ascendants and how Jupiter's transit in 2024 in the sign of Taurus, which is the seventh house, is having an impact on Scorpio ascendant signs. You must watch my previous video wherein I have spoken in detail about how this transit is having an impact on all ascendant signs. Very detailed video. It's one of my best creations as well. So I'm building on it. Here I'm going to specifically talk about in detail the aspects and some very hidden things, hidden concepts, some of the nuances which no one talks about, for example, which is a Rashi Drishti, which is a permanent aspect. These green arrows that you see here, these are permanent aspects. Regardless of whether Jupiter plays a role in Dasha Antardasha, you are likely to have positive results for these three houses that are being aspected by the sign of Taurus. I'm going to talk a little more on it, but for other details, please watch my previous video. So in total, Jupiter is focusing on 5 houses in your chart, okay, while being placed in the seventh house. See, seventh house is a tricky position for Jupiter here. It's a yoga karaka planet for you. It's your fifth lord. It is forming a yoga, but seventh house, Jupiter loses direction. Jupiter gains direction in the first house, and it loses direction in the seventh house. So it needs a lot of focus and a lot of work. So let's talk about the greater focus area. The greater focus area for you is your third house this year, which is the Dushikya Bhava. This is the house of valor, your pace, the stride, your strength. Overall growth is seen from this house because this is the Upachaya Bhava. We see efforts from this house. We also see communication from this house. Okay, so these red dotted lines are temporary aspect. Okay, Jupiter aspects fifth from its position, so it's aspecting your 11th house. Seventh, it's aspecting your ascendant, which is a 50% aspect. The aspect on 11th house is the 100% aspect, which is special aspect of knowledge. The aspect on your third house, which is the ninth aspect, which is again a 100% aspect. Now, interestingly, this house is also aspected by the sign of Taurus. The sign of Taurus aspects the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn, which is the permanent aspect. So these are some of the things which people don't talk about. Okay? It's very well written in our ancient scriptures. It's mentioned in Brihat Parasha Hora Shastra. It is very well mentioned in Gemini Sutras. And this is a permanent aspect. So Jupiter will have. So your greater focus is on valor, your pace and stride, and how you increase your pace in anything that you do over the next 1 year. You should not be sitting idle. You should be working at a very fast pace. Improve your strength, physical as well as mental strength. Bring a sense of stability in your life. Any change that you will go through, Jupiter's focus will be to eventually make you more stable. This is the house of nourishment. We see food that we consume from the second house, nourishment from the third house. Make sure you eat green, leafy foods that are rich in iron, rich in minerals. Of course, I do not, really give, dietary recommendations. Eat what you feel comfortable. As long as you balance it out, it is good for you, right? Also, whatever you learn, you practice, make sure that you write. The more you write, it's a potential remedy for you to channelize this Jupiter in the right direction. Write journals. Use your hands to do any kind of work, whether you work in a computer, make notes, work in your kitchen, do some gardening, improve relationship with your siblings. Get some spiritual advice or get, a message or a guidance from a mentor or someone that you look up to. This Jupiter is aimed to make you more wise and also clever at the same time. So it's on you how you channelize this, energy here. We also see evil thinking from the third house because this is the house of lust. So stay away from, any kind of submissive or oppressive thinking, and have a very open mind, a respectful mind towards other, particularly towards other gender. So you need to respect, right? This is the house of growth. So Jupiter is bringing growth. So this is the greater focus area for you, which is mentioned here in blue. Temporary aspect, the dotted red line, your 11th house and the first house. Okay. So these houses will only be very much active if Jupiter is playing a role in your ongoing dasha, antardasha, or patanta dasha, or if you have planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, and in the sign of Capricorn, or if Jupiter is connected to your ongoing dasha, antardasha lord in your natal chart, then this aspect will be working to its full potential, particularly the 11th house aspect, which is aspecting by its fifth aspect, which is a 100% aspect. We see valuable objects from this house. Your wealth, assets, goods, income, gain of all kinds, interest that you receive from your earnings, from your savings, from your deposit, from your investment, prosperity, worldly existence. So, what is your existence as far as the worldly matters are concerned? So, we see all of that from the 11th house, worldly matters. Therefore, our birth plays a very important role. The circumstances that we are born in, we see from the 11th house. Our welfare, well being, acquisition of all kinds, whether it's acquisition of house, vehicle, assets, things that we own, which are material in nature. So, quite a fruitful aspect which it has on your 11th house. Your first house, though this is a 50% aspect, but you need to be mindful of your weight during this year. Okay. Your consumption is directly linked. You could be susceptible towards, putting on weight or have expansive tendencies. So make sure you have a healthy, balanced diet. intellect and knowledge increases, it's good, right? Body weight, maybe that's something which you might need to be mindful of from a health point of view. Okay. Recognition, chances are there for fame, your strengths, and also weaknesses. So do a SWOT analysis, try to understand your strengths, build on those strengths, right? Work on your improvement areas as well. We see happiness and suffering from the first house, your overall nature, your looks, your appearance, complexion, and also experience, okay, which you gain in this world. So experience is going to increase. You're going to be very much focused on your presentation to others, how you talk to others, how you bring a sense of wisdom in your interaction in your dealing with others. The other two houses receiving permanent aspect, which is a greater focus for you, besides the third house, which is of course, big time focus. The other two important houses that will deliver results is the ninth house of Dharma. Bhagya, fortune is going to increase. Duty, your religion, lineage, we see past life from it. Therefore, father is seen from this house. Any spiritual journey that you take, any spiritual mastery that you receive, pilgrimages, your guru, your higher learning, and also your ability to teach others, the ability to give a kind of message is seen from this house. So, fortune is favorable during this transit, which you need to make the most of it. Jupiter's placement is challenging, but fortune favors at the same time. Your 12th house or Vyaya Bhava, which is expenses, losses. So curtail your expenditure, try to avoid any kind of losses. Okay, try to control and channelize your mind in the right direction. Stay away from internal enemies of the mind. Okay, one of the enemy could be greed, could be lust, right? It could be your sense of indulgence, in things that are detrimental to your health and well-being. So stay away from some of these things here, right? That's something which you need to bear in mind. Okay. We also see a sense of resting or sleep, bed comforts, renunciation. So this house plays a very important role in spiritual pursuits. It's a moksha bhava. Focus on spirituality, yoga, whatever we study and whether we master that is seen from the 12th house. So, for people who go for post graduation, uh, 12th house plays a very important role here. 12th house also plays a very important role in primary education. Okay. And that is the stepping stone in terms of ensuring that we are brought up in the right manner. The value system is all seen from this house. So it plays a very important role. It will foster, it will build your values, it will make it more strong this year, your whole value system. Okay. Um, Completeness. Okay, the end is what 12th house is all about because this is the last house of the zodiac belt out of 12 houses, which makes it complete. And Jupiter is having a connection this year with the 12th house. So, a sense of ownership, a sense of recognition, and a sense of completeness is something which you could feel during this time. And with these significations, I hope this works out well for you, the year, and I wish you the very best. Now let's talk about Sagittarius ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is playing a role for Sagittarius ascendants. This is a special video wherein I'm only going to focus on aspects of Jupiter during this transit. And for the rest, you must watch my previous video wherein I have spoken in detail about Jupiter's transit and how it will go to have an impact on all 12 ascendant signs at the physical level. You must read the transit from your ascendant sign. This is a special video. I'm making this on popular demand. I'm going to talk in very detail about its aspect and how you can expect some of these houses, which are highlighted here by different arrows that you see, the dotted arrow, red arrow, and the green arrow, which will deliver positive results for you, which will deliver some significations. Now, Jupiter has three aspects. It aspects fifth from its position, so it's placed in the sixth house. Being your Lagna Lord, it's in the sixth house, the house of daily routines. And of course, some of these significations I've spoken in a previous video, Jupiter is going to bestow you with a lot of intelligence, with a lot of growth during this transit. But its fifth aspect is on your 10th house, which is a 100% aspect. Its seventh aspect is on your 12th house, which is the house of spirituality, losses, expenditure. Its seventh aspect is on your second house, which is a Dhan Bhava. We see wealth, we see family from the second house. Okay. Now, these aspects are temporary aspect. Why? I'm going to answer that in a bit. The green arrows are the permanent aspect because the sign of Taurus aspects these signs. Taurus aspects Cancer, it aspects Capricorn, and it aspects the sign of Libra. Okay. Taurus is a fixed sign. Fixed signs based on Brihat Parashara Horoshastra aspect variable or movable. Fixed signs aspect movable signs. Okay. And movable signs, which is the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, they aspect the fixed signs besides the sign which is adjacent to it. So therefore, Taurus does not aspect the sign of Aries here. Okay. So this is the significance, and therefore Jupiter being placed in Taurus will definitely have connection with these houses, regardless whether it is playing a role in a dasha or not a dasha. Okay. It's temporary aspects, which is these red arrows. Here you could read this explanation, which I have shared with different houses and the kind of results you can expect. Red arrows, this is all about the fifth, seventh, and ninth aspect. When will this work? If you have Jupiter playing a role in your ongoing dasha, antardasha, pratantardasha, it will work at its full potential. This will be 100% active during this time. Also, in case you have planets in the sign of Taurus, which is the sixth house, your 10th house, Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio or in the sign of Capricorn, you are likely to have impact of these temporary aspects 100%. It will be pretty much active. Or if Jupiter is in any way connected with your ongoing Dasha Lord, Antardasha Lord in your natal chart, if it's any way connected with it, you are likely to have an impact. Now, these temporary aspects, which is the dotted red line, it is aspecting your 10th house, which is the Karma Bhava. We see kingdom from it, your overall authority, sky, and sky has no limit. So this house does not have limit as far as growth is concerned. It has unlimited potential. Your mode of life, moral conduct, your duty, occupation, the work activity, your focus, mind, your mood. We see foreign residence from this house because it is opposite to the fourth house. It is seventh from it. Okay. We see your source of nourishment or food because we work primarily to get food. This is the primary objective. 12th house by its seventh aspect, which is Vyaya Bhava, your expenses, losses needs to be curtailed, needs to be controlled. Make sure that you save more. You need to work on conquering your internal enemies, which could be a sense of greed, a sense of lust, right? A sense of unnecessary obsession or affection towards things. So try to conquer some of these enemies of your mind. Lie, deceit, right? Be truthful about things. We also see weapons of all kinds from this house. We see passing away, resting, sleeping, renunciation. Therefore, it plays a very important role in spiritual pursuits because you need to renounce a lot of worldly pleasures and material things in your life and also people. We see a sense of attention from this house. We see bed, your meal. Studying and mastering the subject is also seen from the 12th house. This is the house of self consciousness, self awareness, and self actualization. Um, it makes it complete. So the cycle completes in this house. Last house is zodiac belt. So it indicates completeness. So these are temporary aspects. There'll be greater focus on the second house because second house is receiving this dotted red line and also the green arrow, which is the permanent aspect, and ninth aspect, which is a special aspect of Jupiter, which indicates knowledge. So any planet that is placed in Capricorn for any ascendant during this time, it's a blessing that Jupiter has during this time. You will have greater focus on the matters of this house, second house, which is Dhan Bhava, wealth, capital, gains of all kinds. We see consumption, what you consume, what you eat, grains, your food, your family and welfare towards the family, your community. Second house is the house of death. Reason being because eighth house is the house of longevity or Ayu. This is seventh or opposite from that house. So it indicates death or death-like situation. Therefore, it also indicates bondage primarily with this world and, of course, people in this world. On the contrary, it is also the house of being lonely or away, bondage with yourself, being so much self-centered. Okay. because we so much focus on consuming all kinds of things in this life. Gems and jewelry are seen from this house. In case you want to invest in gold, great time, right? Go for it. Savings speech you like to gain. It is going to bring a lot of wisdom in your speech, and also focus on savings because the expenditure is going to be on a higher side. So focus on savings this year, accumulation of your wealth, accumulation of what you like to have. And at the same time, growing your family, working towards development of your family. This is the greater focus for you this year. The other two houses receiving permanent aspect by this green arrow is your eighth house or the Randra Bhava. We see transformation from this house, but primarily we see longevity or Ayu from this house. Six internal enemies of the mind. For example, greed, lie, deceit, lust. Okay, some of these things which are detrimental to your well-being. Inheritance is seen from this house. So in case there are chances of inheritance, any assets, any real estate, this could be potentially favorable year. Knowledge of past and future lives. Astrology is seen from this house. Things which are hidden in nature, debts that you take, borrowing or any kind of lending, if it is for business, if it is for work, this could be a favorable time. Otherwise, you need to be cautious of making those decisions. Diseases related to genitals, your private parts. So that is also seen from this house. So one needs to be careful during this time as far as taking any precautionary measures are concerned. So make sure you do a regular routine health checkup for yourself. Any kind of battles and very tough, difficult battles are seen from this house because this house brings sudden ups and downs, sudden changes. Transformation is also the need of the hour, and this will be the focus. So Jupiter is going to elevate positive qualities of this house. So these are some of the things which you can expect, along with 11th house, which is the Aya Bhava. 11th house is all material. You see the explanation, valuable objects, your wealth, assets, goods, income, interest that you earn from property, from uh, fixed deposits, from savings, from your investment, any interest that you earn, right? Your prosperity, your worldly existence. Why are you here to enjoy bhogas of this world, right? To enjoy the material worldly comforts, your existence. We see birth from the fifth house. The circumstances of birth, whether it's easy, difficult, how it is, welfare and well-being, acquisition, anything that you need to acquire, you need to have a strong 11th house or the 11th lord. So these are some of the positive significations you can expect. Great time for work, great time for gains to build your intelligence, and also wealth and incentives during the next 1 year for you. And I hope you make the most of it. And I hope you like this video. I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Capricorn ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is going to play a role for Capricorn ascendants in 2024. Jupiter is making a transit in the fifth house, the house of future, where Jupiter is also a significator or karaka. It's an important transit for you. It's a breakthrough transit. To understand the results, you must watch my previous video, wherein I have spoken in detail of how this transit is going to have an impact on all ascendant signs in a very detailed manner for Capricorn ascendants as well. In this video, it's a part two, and I'm going to focus in detail on aspects of Jupiter, the different houses it is aspecting, and what you can expect, the kind of houses that are pretty much active for you during this transit. And this is represented in my presentation by these red dotted lines. These are the houses that receive aspect. Your ninth house is aspected by the fifth aspect of Jupiter, your 11th house by the seventh aspect of Jupiter, and your first house by the ninth aspect of Jupiter. Additionally, if you see these green arrows signify the houses that the sign of Taurus aspects, which is permanent in nature, because Taurus is a fixed sign. Based on being a fixed sign, it is very well clearly written in Brihat Parasha Hora Shastra and mentioned in Gemini Sutras as well about concept of Rashi Drishti, the sign of Taurus aspects, sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn by Rashi Drishti, which is permanent in nature. Therefore, Jupiter is playing a role in focusing on your seventh house, 10th house, and your ascendant. Three important Kendra or quadrant houses during this time. Therefore, it is a breakthrough transit for you. Now, let's understand these in more detailed manner. I have explained these houses as well, and some of the results that you could expect as far as matters related to these houses are concerned. Let's start with the greater focus, this blue text here. The greater focus will be on your first house or the Lagna Bhava, which is your ascendant, your body, intellect, your overall knowledge, a sense of recognition and fame. So, in case your dasha antardasha is supportive, you could be recognized during this time. You could achieve some sort of fame. You will build your consciousness. You will build your knowledge, your strength, your overall strength. You will try to understand your strengths and opportunity areas. You will build on your strengths. This is the kind of message which Jupiter is giving. Happiness and suffering needs to be managed during this time, and that is also something which you see from the first house. Your nature is seeing, and that needs to evolve during this time. Okay, merit that you bring in anything that you do in life, your looks, complexion, how you carry yourself, your personality, how you present in front of others. You would want to bring in a lot of wisdom, someone who comes with knowledge as well as experience, and that is something you would like to portray in front of others. You would want to gain more experience as well through this year. First house is pretty much active because Jupiter has a ninth aspect of knowledge, jnana, and also the Rashi Drishti. So, an excellent time to learn, to increase your awareness, to increase your knowledge, and at the same time, focus on your body as far as your well being is concerned. Eat right, exercise. This is the ultimate solution for you. The other two houses that receive a permanent aspect is your seventh house and your 10th house. Seventh house is aspected by the sign of Taurus. So Jupiter is playing a very positive significance as far as your marriage is concerned. This house is called Jaya Bhava because it indicates love and also war because it's opposite to the first house. Seventh house is also the marketplace. We see trade and businesses of all kind. We see victory or winning over enemies, both internal as well as external enemies. Your internal enemies are seen from the eighth house. Okay, enemies of the mind, which is greed, lie, deceit, okay, lust. And seventh house is 12th from the eighth house, so loss of those internal enemies. Sixth house at the same time is all about external enemies, your competition. Okay, so second is something that you consume, you win over it, right? You progress, you gain. So you gain over your enemies. This is how you win. We see zodiac from this house. It's the center of the zodiac, accomplishments, death-like suffering. It's 12th from the eighth house. So eighth house is the house of longevity. So death-like suffering is seen from the seventh house. Loss of sight, lack of vision. Jupiter wants you to be very much visionary and stay focused on your future because Jupiter is making a transit in the fifth house, which is all about future. Your 10th house is going to be pretty much active, which is about kingdom, authority. We see sky, and sky has no limit. There is unlimited potential. Besides your profession, your work, karma, action in the society, your job, we see your moral conduct from the 10th house. So you have to be very careful of your moral conduct while dealing with people and have the right kind of conduct. Your work activity is going to be seen, so that is going to be influenced by Jupiter this year. So you could expect some changes in your job or the nature of work that you do, or maybe if you were to start something new of yourself. Foreign residence is seen from this house or going abroad because this is the house which is opposite to the fourth house. Fourth house is home, seventh house is opposite, which indicates foreign residence. We see source of nourishment and also food from this house. So it plays a very important role in these matters because we work in the 10th house. Primary reasons why we work is to earn and have food. Now, the red arrows temporary aspect, okay, which is your ninth house, primarily. Okay, so ninth house, which is the Dharma Bhava. So this aspect would be very much applicable, as I mentioned to you before, if in case Jupiter is playing a role in Dasha Antardasha, if you have planets in the sign of Virgo or in the sign of Taurus, then this will be pretty much active. Your bhagya, fortune, your overall duty, your religion, lineage, we see past life from this house. We see spiritual journey and also spiritual mastery from this house. We see pilgrimage, okay, we see father, guru, or a sense of higher learning from this house. So Jupiter, therefore, is having a blessed aspect on your ninth house. It is protecting your bhagya. It is elevating your bhagya. It is providing knowledge to the ninth house matters. So an excellent time for higher learning and all kinds of growth. Jupiter is aspecting your 11th house. which is your Aya Bhava. So we see all kind of valuable objects, wealth, assets, goods, income, gains, interest, any kind of prosperity. Why do you exist in this world? To get bhoga, to have worldly existence, to take, make the most of all the material comforts and things in this life. Therefore, we see well-being and welfare from this house. We see a sense of acquisition of all kinds are seen from this house. But these temporary aspects will work 100% of its potential if in case you have planets placed here. Otherwise, I say these are blessed aspects of Jupiter, which works in its great potential. So these are the five houses and the kind of results you could expect as far as aspects of Jupiter are concerned. I mean, overall, I have said this in my previous video as well, that it's quite a promising transit for Capricorn ascendants, and I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Aquarius ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is going to have an impact on Aquarius ascendant signs. You need to read this transit from your ascendant sign as far as the physical manifestation of results are concerned. You must watch my previous video wherein I have spoken in detail about Jupiter's transit and how it is going to have an impact on all 12 ascendant signs. In this video, I am focusing greatly on Jupiter's aspects, the different houses it will aspect for you, and how it will bless these houses by the aspect during this transit. So there are five key houses in your chart that Jupiter is aspecting. Jupiter aspects primarily fifth from its position, so it is having an aspect or a drishti on your eighth house of transformation, on your 10th house by its seventh aspect, which is the house of work, your career or profession, karma, and your 12th house by its ninth aspect, which is the house of moksha, losses, expenditure, and also spirituality. Okay. Now, these green arrows that you see here, these are the Rashi drishtis or the sign aspects. Taurus is a fixed sign. Fixed signs aspect movable signs. Taurus aspects all movable signs besides the sign of Aries, because Aries is adjacent to it. So it aspects the sign of Cancer, it aspects the sign of Libra and the sign of Capricorn. So these aspects are permanent in nature. The Graha Drishti, planetary aspects, are temporary. It works more when it is the Dasha, Antardasha, Pratantardasha, in my experience. But these Rashi aspects are permanent in nature. They will work all throughout the time. So Jupiter, while being placed here, is focusing a lot on sixth house matters, ninth house matters, and 12th house matters for you. To make it easy and simple for you, I have put this explanation here in terms of what these houses mean for you, to make it quite simple and detailed at the same time, some of the results that you could expect. Now let's start with these temporary aspects, these red dotted lines. These aspects will work to 100% of its potential if Jupiter is playing a role in your ongoing dasha, antardasha, pratantardasha, or if you have planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, and in the sign of Capricorn. Then this will work 100% in a blessed and a positive manner. Your eighth house, which is also called Randra Bhava, which is the house of longevity or Ayu. We also see internal enemies of the mind. For example, greed, lust, okay, lie, deceit. We see inheritance from this house. So there could be chances of inheritance, in case you have assets and you're expecting something in place. Insurance is also seen from the eighth house, which protects future of your near and dear one and your loved ones. We see knowledge of past and future. Insurance also, of course, helps in your current assets as well. Let's say car insurance, home insurance, anything that protects your life and your assets. Okay. Knowledge of past and future life. So astrology is also seen from the eighth house. Any hidden knowledge, anything or subjects that involve deep research. Debts, borrowing and lending is seen from this house. Diseases of all kinds, which are related to genitals, your lower body parts, or your private parts, to be very specific. So that's something which one needs to be cautious of and make sure that you maintain hygiene, and at the same time, you get yourself checked up as and when it is required. Battles and transformation is also seen from the eighth house. So this really helps us transform. This helps us become a better person, a better self. 10th house of karma, which is a seventh aspect of Jupiter, which is 50% aspect. But then this is quite supportive as far as workplace matters are concerned, because we see a sense of authority, kingdom, progress. This is represented by sky, and sky has no limit. So there is unlimited potential in this house. Mode of life, your moral conduct, how you conduct yourself in front of others, your occupation, your work activity, your mood, your focus, more at a mental level. We also see foreign residents from this house, since it is opposite to the fourth house of home, your homeland. Okay. Uh, Source of food or nourishment, because work primarily is seen from the 10th house, and primary reason why we work is because we were to earn a living and get feed ourselves and our loved ones. So these are some of the temporary aspects that you can expect the kind of results during this time. The greater focus will be on your 12th house of via expenditure, and that needs to be curtailed and improved during this time. So you need to cut down your expenditure, you need to focus more on savings, you need to focus more on avoiding any kind of losses, focus more on spirituality, transformation of all kinds, transformation of yourself, because 12th house is about endings and new beginnings. It's about a sense of completeness and then starting yourself afresh, going back to the roots, going back to the basics, going back to the fundamentals, and then fixing your life and routine accordingly, right? Conquering your internal enemies first, the enemies that are in constant battle with your mind, right? Taking a good night's sleep, resting, recharging, relaxing, sleeping, going for a travel or a leisure, renunciation, practicing spiritual sadhana, bed pleasures, meal, studying something, and mastering that subject is also seen from this house, because this is the house of complete. Okay. So your 12th house is greater focus because it has Jupiter's ninth aspect, and it also has the Rashi Drishti or the sign aspect of Taurus. So greater focus for the year is this for you. Sixth house also receives permanent aspect from the sign of Taurus, Randra Bhava, your daily routines, deaths and diseases, intelligence is going to grow. There's going to be growth, but there might be some fear as well as far as the future is concerned, because you would have to bring yourself out of your comfort zone, step out of your comfort zone, and do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Okay. So this is something which is seen from this house, besides the other things. And one of the differentiating factors is the power of healing. So you might want to heal yourself first. If you're able to do that, you will play an instrumental role in healing other people as well during this time. And the other house receiving a permanent aspect is your ninth house, which is the house of fortune, bhagya, your dharma bhava. So dharma is going to be pretty much active. Your religion, your lineage, connection with your past life, your spiritual journey and spiritual mastery is also seen from the ninth house, because this house is higher learning, learning that is very much spiritual in nature, learning that is very much related to Vedas or Shastras, or of course, the ancient knowledge, the real pure gold that is there as far as knowledge is concerned. We see pilgrimages. So any pilgrimage that you take is going to be beneficial. It's going to bring in a lot of joy. It's going to bring a lot of relief in your life. Okay. And we see higher learning from this house. Bhagya is pretty much favorable this year. But the path is very much spiritual. The path is to recharge or restart yourself, right? And that's something which you must do during this year as a key message as far as Jupiter's transit is concerned. And I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Pisces ascendants and how Jupiter's transit is having an impact or the kind of results for Pisces ascendants in 2024 as Jupiter makes a transit in the sign of Taurus, and it's going to stay in Taurus till 14th of May 2025. You must watch my previous video wherein I have spoken a lot in detail in terms of how this transit is going to have an impact on all 12 ascendant signs in a very detailed manner. This video is part 2, and I want to focus in this video on aspects of Jupiter and the 5 different houses of your chart that are going to be pretty much active, that are going to deliver some very positive results for you through this year, so you can make the most of it, some of the messages that you can get. Now, these houses are represented by these red dotted arrows and the green arrows. Let me explain you what these arrows are all about. The red arrows are about the 5th aspect of Jupiter. So Jupiter from the 3rd house is aspecting your 7th house by its 5th aspect, It is aspecting your ninth house by its seventh aspect, which is the 50% aspect. It is aspecting your 11th house by its ninth aspect, which is again a 100% aspect of Jupiter. Now, these aspects will be pretty much active in case Jupiter is playing an important role or any kind of role in your ongoing dasha, antardasha, or pratyeka dasha, or if you have any planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Scorpio, and in the sign of Capricorn, then Jupiter will work 100% to its potential. The green arrows are the sign aspects of Rashi Drishti. Sign of Taurus is a fixed sign, and based on Brihaspati Hora Shastra, Taurus aspects the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn by Rashi Drishti or sign aspects. And these aspects are permanent in nature. Regardless of what dasha antardasha you are going through, you are likely to achieve some positive results related to fifth house, eighth house, and the 11th house in the upcoming months to come. And to make it simple, I have this explanation. I would like to start with the greater focus for you is on the 11th house or the Aya Bhava, which is all about valuable objects in life. Okay, your wealth creation methods and tools and what you do in order to create wealth. Your assets are seen from this house. So there are chances of increasing assets, fixed assets, okay, accumulation of those things, goods, income, gain of all kinds, interest from savings, from deposits, from of course, your investments are going to reflect during this year. So maybe great time to invest in golds, in stocks, deposits, in case your Dasha Antardasha is supportive, you're likely to be benefited. Though Jupiter is transiting in your third house, it is considered Maran Karaka in this house. You will have to work very hard in order to protect significations of Jupiter, which is knowledge, wisdom, learning, and teaching. So these are some of the things which is the real wealth. So you will have to work very hard to protect it. Okay. But you're likely to gain and you're likely to have some sort of prosperity over the next 1 year. Worldly existence is seen from this house. Okay. Because Jupiter is aspecting by its ninth aspect, and also your the Rashi Drishti is on the sign of Capricorn, which is a permanent aspect. So a lot of focus, why you were born, why do you exist in this world? Your focus on welfare and well-being and acquisition of all kinds, assets of all kinds. This could be something which you could expect during this transit. Okay. Now, these red dotted lines, which are the fifth, seventh, and the ninth aspect of Jupiter, it is temporary because it works 100% to its potential based on the dasha antardasha. Okay, otherwise it has minimum impact. Seventh house, which is also called Jaya Bhava. Okay, now seventh house is the house of spouse. It is the house of love, and it is also the house of war. That is why it's called Jaya Bhava. We see winning of over internal and external enemies from this house. Your internal enemies are seen from the eighth house, your enemies of the mind, and seventh house is 12th from the eighth house, which is indicates losses of those enemies. Okay, external enemies are seen from the sixth house. Okay, second house is a representation of gains related to sixth house matters. So you gain over your enemies. Journeys are also seen from the seventh house, which are indicative of distance and time, your any sense of accomplishment, because this is the marketplace, this is the house of trading, businesses are done in this house, so it plays a very important role. Zodiac, it's the center of the zodiac. Okay, death like suffering, loss of sight, loss of vision, lack of vision. This is something which you have to be very much focused on to have a very clear vision this year. That's the message of the hour. And your ninth house, which is the dharma bhava, your fortune, duty, religion, lineage, your past life. Why do you exist in this world? Your spiritual journey and spiritual mastery, your higher learning. It is time to learn something new that you've never learned before. Taking pilgrimages would be good for you, would be beneficial. Improving relationship with your father or your guru or your mentor. This is an optimum time for you to focus on some of these pursuits. But these aspects are temporary, so it will depend on your dasha and the dasha in order to understand the the kind of results that you would expect, or it's very much I would say that In order to understand the potential of these aspects, you need to see your ongoing dasha, antardasha. The other two permanent aspects, which are represented by the green arrow, is on your fifth house and the eighth house. Fifth house, which is also called Putra Bhava or Mantra Bhava. We see mantras and yantras from this house, amulets, mystic diagrams, which helps you channelize some positive energies in life, are seen from this house. So maybe an appropriate time to have a yantra. What yantra? That would depend on your chart and the kind of time period that you're going through. Any prayers that you use, mystical sounds that you use, any mantras that you use during this time, right? You are likely to be benefited if particularly it is related to your Lagna Lord Jupiter, which is sitting in your third house of communication, right? Of siblings, of change, courage, valor. So this will help a lot to you during this year. We see mundane knowledge. So learn something. Third house is also the house of learning. So those learnings which are very practical in nature, which will help you succeed in your life at your workplace. So you must focus on that. That helps you build your acumen. That helps you protect your future. Okay. Relationship with children or those who are looking forward to having children. This could be a favorable time. Authority is and kingdom is also seen from this house because this is the natural house of sun. Sun rules Leo, which falls in the fifth house naturally. We also see falling down and corruption from this house because a sense of ego and authority does make a person, corrupt in some manner in today's world. And therefore, a lot of politicians have a strong fifth house, strong fifth lord, and there are a number of corrupt politicians as well because with power authority comes corruption, and that's a bit of caveat which is here. Your eighth house, which is the Randra Bhava, longevity or Ayu, sixth internal enemy. So you need to focus a lot on transforming yourself in channelizing your mind in the appropriate direction towards wisdom, towards gain of knowledge, learning about past and future lives, which is astrology, hidden sciences, knowledge that is unknown, research related subjects. That's something which you can pursue during this time. While getting into debts, which are borrowing and lending, just be careful and make a very thoughtful decision as far as your repaying capacity is concerned. Do not make a very impulsive decision here. Okay. And some of the things that you have to focus on is your own transformation, which is going to be inevitable during this time. So, overall, from a gains point of view, it looks like quite an excellent and a promising year, but then you will have to focus a lot on putting focus on improving, significations related to Jupiter, which are getting lost some way during this time. So that's something which you have to put more efforts. Overall, I wish you the very best and hope you have a good transit of Jupiter during this time. So this was about the special video of transit of Jupiter and particularly its aspect and the kind of role it will play in months to come for all different ascendant signs. In part 3 of the video, what I'm going to be making is Jupiter's transit over your natal planets, such as Jupiter making a transit over your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Rahu, or Ketu, and how it is going to have an impact. How, if it is connected by aspect in terms of other natal planets, the kind of results you can expect, which is again going to be a very interesting videos I'm going to be making in the next few days. I hope and believe Jupiter's transit in Taurus brings a lot of wealth in our lives, wealth of knowledge, wealth of resources, and abundance. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.